Welcome to the show. Tell me where you're coming from. Where are you at? Let's build this audience. Coming to you from California. I'm doing today, Syed. How are you doing? Nice to meet you, Fazil. You are in the right place. I am here to help you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Ira Bowman. I am the owner and operator of Project Help You Grow, and I'm here to answer your questions. Look, I do this show 2 times a week. I do it on Mondays. I do it on Saturdays. The reason why I do it on both days is because I'm trying to mix up the time zones a little bit to help people from all over the world. And also, I know some of you actually have a job, but you want to find a better job, and I'm here to help you with that too. So look, we got a ton of people in. I can't even keep up with the comments so fast. Here's what I want you to do. If you already have a question that you want to ask, go ahead and drop that in the comments. If you don't know your question yet, that's okay. Watch the show. I'm going to educate you probably on a lot of things today that will help you find the job anyways. But in the meantime, I want you to drop where you're from. So if you don't have a question, just put in the put in the comments just like this. Devram has said, hey, from Istanbul, welcome. That's Turkey. That's a long ways away from me. I'm sitting here in my home podcast studio in California. Many of you will know or be familiar with Los Angeles. Now, to be fair, I don't actually live inside Los Angeles. I live in the greater Los Angeles community. But for this sake, I live in LA. So nice to meet you guys. Good. I'm glad to hear that you're doing good. From Dakar, Sengal, welcome. Ooh, we have another person here from Turkey. Welcome. We've got somebody here from Hawaii. That's got to be tough. Well, I like Hawaii, so I've been there one time. South Africa, welcome. Okay, so I do get jobs on Project Help You Grow, just so you guys know, from Turkey, from Hawaii, and from South Africa. So even from Chicago, Frank. So if you guys are looking, if you're looking for help, so far I haven't seen a place that I don't find jobs on a regular basis from. Now, Turkey, of those, is probably the one that I have the least. But I can search for jobs on Turkey. It's one of the reasons why I ask where people are from, just so you know. I'm asking because I take time every week to search for jobs that I know my candidates, the people with profiles on Project Help You Grow, are looking for. Now, if you're curious, you might notice on the bottom of my screen, it says 100% free for everybody. That's not misleading. That's not clickbait. That's the truth. I've run this website this is going on year 3 now, 2 full years and now going on year 3. Never charged anybody a single penny for anything on Project Help You Grow. It is 100% free. If you go to my website, projecthelpyougrow.com, you're going to find there are absolutely no ads. There are no pop-ups. You're not going to get any emails from people you don't want emails from. Look, I don't send you an email when you sign up. The only time I send you an email is in response to a question. So if you send me an email via the website with a question attached to it, then I will respond. But other than that, I don't have time for it. So I do my communicating in mass, not by emails. Okay. India, perfect. What part of India? I have jobs all the time. Bangalore seems to be the one where I get the most jobs in India, but I have jobs from all over India all the time. Yeah, Kirsty Bonner, I'm still not quite right about that one. It's hard when it's suicide, and she unfortunately took her own life. So it is what it is. But I do miss her. I miss her help too. She helped me as well. Not a single penny, exactly. Not a single penny. That's tongue in cheek. Penny's being funny, but anyways, it's true, 100% free. And a lot of people, when I launched the website, a lot of people thought that it was only going to be free for a little bit, and I was just trying to rope people in. But no, it's a philanthropy. That's how I see it. Canada, USA, UK. I do have experience. Okay, so here's a problem. First of all, let's address the desire to work abroad. I know a lot of you want to work abroad, and it's fine. You can, but you cannot win with such a wide scope. You actually need to narrow it down. So find a place inside Canada, the USA, or the UK. Because right now you just want to escape where you are, right? But an employer is not going to want to hire you if all you want to do is run from where you are. That's not going to instill confidence that you're going to stick around. Why would they spend all that money to bring you in when they don't even know you want to be there? You've never been there before. You don't have a reason to want to be there. You have a reason to want to leave where you're leaving, right? So here's what I want you to do. I want you to build a case. It's going to take some time. Build a case for why you want to move to that place. Now, here's the number one piece of advice I'm giving job seekers who want to relocate abroad right now because it's so difficult with the pandemic. I'm saying find a company inside your country. I'm going to take a wild guess that you're from India right now, okay? Wherever you're from, find a company that has an office where you are. You're already able to work there legally because you live there. Start working on your relationship with that employer locally as an employee. Then I want you to start addressing your manager, HR, everybody you can above you, and let them know, like, hey, I really would like to work for our office. Let's say you picked the United States and you want to work in New York City, the New York City office or the LA office. LA is better. So you want to work in the LA office, right? So you tell them, you're like, look, my dream, my hope, my aspiration is to work for you in the future in LA. How do I go about doing that? And get them to work with you on that. There are so many advantages. What do I mean by ATS? Wow. Somebody said, what do you mean by ATS? That's crazy. Let me come back to that in a minute, because if you don't know what the ATS is, it might be why you're unemployed, and I will help you. Okay, but let me finish this. So for those of you who want to work abroad, what I want you to do is work on this strategy. Now, I know it's not a fast strategy. It's going to take time, but guess what? It's the most effective one that you can employ. Don't pay anybody any money. If anybody asks you for money on a abroad thing, they are most likely like 99.9% chance ripping you off or trying to. We call them scams here in the United States. Don't get scammed. Too many of you guys are falling for, it seems too good to be true, and you fall for it. So stop it. If you ever have a question about the authenticity of something, what I want you to do is just stop everything, go back to the company through the main front door, through their website, call them on the phone, ask to talk to HR, and speak to somebody that you can verify actually works for the company. It'll help you. It'll save you a lot of money. They're not going to interview you through some third-party chat software, right? They're not going to WhatsApp you an interview. That's not going to happen, okay? You don't have to give them your bank account number to verify that they can pay you before you start for them. All these different things I've heard of. So let's be careful out there. Okay. This right here is not really what this show is about, just so you know. I do have tips, but not on this show. Follow me on one of my other shows. I've got a guide out. I'm basically live every day but Sunday. Find me on any other show or find me on LinkedIn and let's have that conversation. But it's not for today. I'm going to go back to what is the ATS because wow, this is super important. If you don't know this, guys, this ATS is a global thing. So wherever you are, it's not just United States or UK or whatever. What the ATS is, it's an acronym. It stands for Applicant Tracking System. I'm going to pull up, I'm going to pull up on Project Help You Grow. And I'm going to pull up on LinkedIn, two different things. I'm going to share with you guys two different things, okay? So bear with me for just 1 second as I do just a little bit of searching because I'm gonna show you where you can get a ton of information all for free, both from me. So you won't have to pay anything to get this information. Okay. So I wrote an article. Okay, here we go. Sharing my screen. Here we go. Okay. So first one I wrote, what do you mean by ATS? So the ATS, I wrote this. This is on LinkedIn. You can go here on my profile. What you do is go to activity and then articles, and then it's the very first one. This will teach you more about the ATS. But then the other thing I've written, Project Help You Grow is a website. Okay, I'm going to remove this comment for just a second. Okay, so when you come here, what I want you to do is I want you to go right here to where it says blog. Okay, click that. And then in it, if you come down to this one right here, okay, I want you to read that because this will teach you not only what the ATS is, but it'll teach you how to get through it. The ATS, the applicant tracking system, what it does is it helps the recruiters and the HR folks to track the applicants for a job listing from the very beginning, from the time they create the job listing through the time that they hire whoever they end up hiring. And every single applicant that comes in that submits an application to be considered is entered into this ATS. Now, the thing that is kind of confusing, and this is why I want you to read my articles, okay? The ATS is not one program. It's one type of program, okay? So it's like a CRM, a contact record management program, but there are literally thousands of these things. So there isn't a hard and fast rule. This always works. This never works. There's none of that. The ATS program was intended to help manage volume and to eliminate bias in the hiring process. It does the volume okay. I'm not very happy with what it traded some issues for other issues basically, right? So it was supposed to help take out the bias for age and the bias for gender and the bias for religion and all those things. That's what it was supposed to do. And yeah, it does it a little bit, but there are ways to get around that with names and work history links and stuff like that. So unfortunately, if you're not setting up your resumes in an ATS strategy with an ATS strategy, you can still get biased out even through the ATS, which is a problem. But then also it created a technology bias for the folks who aren't as good with, updating their forms and using specific file types and changing the way the resumes were set up because so many of them were set up originally to be visually stimulating, to be pretty, to catch attention. And the people who did that, who got used to that formatting, now have trouble in a lot of cases getting through the ATS because the ATS doesn't recognize that format or that font, or they have columns or bullet points that don't match, or they have underlines, or they've added some imagery around the edges. Again, in an effort to make it look visually stimulating. But the ATS struggles with that. So they traded bias problems for technical problems. And I can tell you this, and it's an unfortunate statistic, but it's true. 3 out of 4 people who apply through the ATS don't ever their application is never actually seen by a human being. And that is awful. But it's the truth. So there you go. Hopefully, Sarah, that helped you. It's a long-winded answer. Hope you had hope you were able to follow. Again, go to projecthelpyougrow.com, read my article, go to LinkedIn, read my article. I've got tons of articles. In fact, it's not just one. I've got lots of them that you can read. Hopefully that helps. Okay, let me help you out here. Don't ever ask people to review your profile. It doesn't do you any good. This is again, you guys have to think in new ways. You have to think what this is like saying, I'm going to set some food outside. And if you're hungry, just come grab some food. It just doesn't work. If you're trying to find a specific job, you have to be more on purpose than this. And I'm not trying to pick on you. I see this all day, every day. I get emails from people. Hey, review my profile. For what? I'm not hiring. I'm showing you how to get a job. I'm helping you find jobs on Project Help You Grow. But I personally am not hiring. So even if, you know what I mean, it doesn't help you. Here's what you really need. What you really need is to find the job that you want. You want to build networking relationships so that you can ask people for help within that company or who are connected to that hiring manager or to that HR team. That would help you. But also, you really need to work on your resume. When you read that job description, and you've got to have a job description, then you build your resume as appropriate to match up with that job listing. That's how you're really going to fish. Having people review your profile might make you feel better. Getting people to share your profile might make you feel better, but you're not finding a job that way. I hate to say that, but it's the truth. Very, very few people find a job because anybody looked at their profile or anybody shared their profile. I remember Oleg used to share resumes all the time. People didn't find jobs because Oleg was sharing their resume. In fact, Oleg used to get in trouble by LinkedIn because he would share the resume. And he actually even had to make a post about it. He's like, look, guys, I can't share your resume anymore. And yes, I have talked to Oleg. I've been connected to Oleg for 2 years. Look, the thing about Brigitte and Oleg and all these guys with these millions of followers is they're not actually doing, in most cases, the real work to help you get a job. They're trying to appease you and make you feel good because they want you all to follow them like lemmings. But that's not going to help you find a job. What makes me different and why I'm much smaller is because I'm not trying to appeal to you and work that way. I'm trying to show you what really works. And I do a lot of research. I talk to a lot of people every single day because I want to know what really works. How did I learn about the ATS? I studied that sucker. I studied it for 6 weeks. I poured everything I had into the ATS for 6 weeks. I don't need anybody to tell me anything about it. I did the research myself. So again, the reason why you can't share your resume across the board, for any of you who don't know that, is because of the privacy laws. You have information in there, your email address, your cell phone number, your home address, all that stuff. LinkedIn, if you read the rules, doesn't allow you to share that stuff publicly because of privacy laws, especially in places like the UK. They can get shut down as an organization for violating those rules, even though you voluntarily shared it. You just can't do it. So if you wanted to share a resume legally without anybody getting in trouble, you'd have to strip out all your contact information. So if you want to do that, you can. But again, I'm going to tell you, it doesn't help you to share a profile like that. There are too many job seekers out there that are applying for every single job. For anybody to be desperate, to be like, I can't find an IT guy in the UK, the USA, or Canada. Going back to the reference earlier, where the guy was like, I just want to find any IT job in any one of those three areas. Great. That doesn't make you any different than millions and millions of people who already live there. They're already legally able to work there. You understand? You're in a competition, whether you like it or not, for the job. Every single job you go for, you're in competition with everybody else who's applying. And this is why the ATS, even though it sucks right now, and believe me, I think it sucks. They don't have to change it, because they're still getting so many people who apply, who meet the criteria, who are following the rules enough to get seen, that there's no pain on the employer part, the hiring part. They don't feel the pain. In fact, they are already overwhelmed. 3 out of 4 people who apply will never be seen, but there's still enough in the 1 out of 4 people in droves that they don't have to make a change. There are no regulating bodies for the ATS to make universal changes. It's up to each and every individual company and each and every ATS program developer to decide that they want to make these changes, and they just don't need to. It's not because it's a great system, it's because it works well enough. They say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, in this case, it's broke. I think it's broke, but it's not broke enough where they desire to fix it. So I don't understand what you're doing here, but are you advertising for your company? Is that what's going on? I really don't like that. This isn't a place for you to come and try and, build your brand. So don't do that. Job seeker is a civil Q&A engineer. Okay, I'm looking for questions now. If you have questions, if you can't find a job, create your own job. That's what I did. Honestly, that's great advice, Hinda. I lost my job. I was furloughed in May. I was laid off in June. I created Bowman Digital Media, officially June 5th, I think. And I'm working for myself now. So that is a good question. Look, I see a lot of comments in here, but I don't see a lot of questions. So if you have a question for me, ask me the question. Skills required to stay long-term in corporate sector. The number one thing that it takes to stay in the corporate sector is you've got to be able to learn. That's the number one skill, because things are always changing. For example, 6 months ago, most of us didn't work remotely. Most of us worked at an office somewhere. And now, I'm talking corporately now. Now most of us work from home remotely because of the pandemic. So there was a lot of changes, adaptations that needed to happen. And if you couldn't adapt, or you refuse to adapt, then you'd be out of luck. So study is what I'm trying to tell you. Be flexible. An attitude. We call them soft skills in the biz, in the HR business. We call them soft skills, transferable skills. They're really skills that you could apply across the board. Those are the ones that it's required to stay in the corporate sector. Why? Because if the job you have today is gone, the job you need tomorrow, those soft skills, those transferable skills, you can use them pretty much across the board. That's why. I'm looking for questions here. I've got a ton of comments, but I don't see a ton of questions, which is totally fine. But I'm here to answer questions for you. This is a type of question that I really can't answer directly. It's out of my scope. But let me share with you an idea of how you can. In fact, it's on my blog on Project Help You Grow. There is an idea. In fact, I'm going to pull it up right now. I'll show you. There's an idea here called informational interviews. And I apologize, the screen is kind of covering it up, but it's the power of informational interviews. And what an informational interview is, it's like having a conversation with a person who's in your industry. usually it's going to be somebody who's above you, like a mentor to you, but not necessarily a mentor, just somebody above you that you want to interview. You want to ask them questions. And that's the kind of questions that you might want to ask. Other questions that you might want to ask would be like, how do I get from where I am to where you are? If you were starting over today, what would you do differently? If you were starting over today, would you encourage somebody to join this field? To your question about what's the future scope of manufacturing, that might you could ask that for a variety of reasons, but one of the reasons you might ask that is this even a viable career for somebody just joining in? Because careers in industries do go away. They're not forever, right? So even the printer business has gone through that quite a bit lately. So, anyways, this is an article that you can find on Project Help You Grow if you are interested in doing so. And if you're not familiar with Project Help You Grow, again, here's the website. It's my website. I own it. I'm not trying to pretend like it's somebody else's website. It's my website. So if you need the help, I know all about that website because it's mine. Every single word on that website, I wrote it, except for my guest blogs. I've had a couple people write guest blogs, but anyways, the point there is, if you need help, there's the help to answer that question for you. Okay. All right. I think I've answered the questions. At least it looks like I did. Now, there are a ton of questions in here or a ton of comments. So I might have missed one. If you asked a question and I didn't answer it yet, please go ahead and resubmit it so that it's fresh. And I will do my best to get to it. We're doing really well. We have a ton of comments, which is great. Okay. But I don't see questions. And the point of this show, it's called Ask Ira. Job Seekers Q&A, question and answers. So if we do nothing but statements, which is totally fine, then I'll talk about what I want to talk about. But if you ask me questions, then I will answer your questions. Now, Penny is helping me out here, which I appreciate. Penny knows the answer to this question. So one thing that I would like to suggest, and I do suggest it often, when you are in the interview, one of the questions that you should be asking, there's a couple, but one of them you should definitely ask is about follow-up. I want you to ask them this question: how long until I should expect to hear back from you? And you can phrase it any way you want, but that's the question. Okay. The follow-up to that is great. Is it going to be by phone, by email, by letter? How are you following up with me? Because if they say they normally take a week to follow up with you, then the answer to that question, Penny, is a week and 1 day. You let them go to their deadline, their set deadline, and then the very next day, you hit them. And you hit them the preference way. So if they said phone call or email, which is typically what they're going to say, one or the other, then that's how you're going to respond. Now, if they don't take that phone call or answer that email, I usually wait 2 days and then I do it again, but I'm going to do it the alternative method. So if I sent the email because that was the preference and they didn't respond, then I'm going to hit the phone and I'm going to call them 2 days later after that time. So if they said 3 days, on day 4, I'm going to email if they said email. And then on day 6, I'm going to phone. And if they don't respond, then that's your clue that they, for whatever reason, to have moved on. And you need to move on. I'm going to tell you something that Kirsty Bonner and I used to talk about all the time. We used to talk about this idea of never stop searching until you're on board. That means you keep searching after an interview goes well, after a verbal offer. You keep searching. You don't stop, because until you get through everything, even when they offer you the contract in writing, it could still fall through. The safest strategy when it comes to job searching is to not stop until you're on board. I know that gets frustrating. I have a friend of mine. I've known him for years now. He was emailing me back and forth. Well, it was DMs 2 days ago. He said, Ira, got a job offer. It's pretty good. Started the onboarding process. I got a second job offer. It's better. It's better pay, better quality of life. I really want this job. But he's like, Ira, I'm torn. I don't know what to do. I've already verbally agreed to this one. And I said, have you started? And he goes, no, I haven't started yet. I said, okay, here's the right thing to do. You tell both companies that there is another offer on the table. You tell them both. And say, you know, this other company, to the one that made you the offer first in this case, has offered me a better package and it's got a better quality of life for me. And unless there's some flexibility with your offer, I'm going to accept the second offer. Now you're just being straight up. And anyways, that's the advice I gave him. So but you keep looking, because sometimes you're going to get multiple offers, but other times that first offer, the only offer, is not going to work out. And if you waste 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks not looking, you can lose all your momentum, which is why Kirsty Bonner and I both agreed that that's the better way to do it. So hopefully that helps you guys. Again, this is something that would be beyond my scope, guys. This is why you would do an informational interview, or you would talk to maybe a recruiter specifically in that industry. I don't know the answer to every question, but if I don't know the answer, I usually can help you figure out where to find it. And in this case, what I would do is I would talk to people in that industry, right? So people who are in that industry have been in it a long time. Maybe you want to talk to somebody like at a director level. Again, I think a recruiter would know too, because they're seeing the insights into, the hiring managers, what they're pulling out. So is there a slowdown? I think computer science personally, now this is not an educated opinion. This is just my personal opinion for what it's worth. I think is probably one of the safest industries to be in, because I can't envision a world without computers. I think computers are just getting started, right? Now, nanotechnology and artificial intelligence and all that stuff, the specialties inside computer science maybe will evolve and develop and those things, and even maybe segment off into different segments. All that could be true. Again, that's why an informational interview, I think, is a wise thing to do there. But personally, I'm not a professional. Please do not stop. Yep, Penny knows. I'm sure Penny talked to Kirsty Bonner about that too. Did you not, Penny? I mean, that's something that was pretty true. And this is always true. Always be honest. Your integrity in that case. And I had this happen to me in that hypothetical. I actually had 3 job offers at one point. This was 2 jobs ago. But I was in Texas. I was ready to move on. I had a job offer that I signed in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I had another company that was looking at me from Pennsylvania pretty hard, but they never actually offered me the job officially. It was just verbal stuff. And then in the process of doing the background check for the company that I had signed the offer, they called one of my former employers, and the former employer, once they found out that I was available, they came at me full force with an offer. I couldn't. It was double the amount of money of the first offer. I mean, it was just like there was no way I could say no to it. So I called the president of that company. I called him and I said, "Look, I was not expecting this. I didn't reach out to them. You actually reached out to them to verify my background. And anyways, now they're coming after me. They want me, and so I let them know, like, look, I can't refuse this offer. So, anyways, be honest, even when it's hard. Be honest." Okay, so I've already answered this question, so please stop asking it, because it's really annoying that you're just copying and pasting this now. So don't make me kick you off, right? This is what we call being socially impolite, and I don't know if you mean to be impolite, but that this is not a show for entrepreneurs. This is a show for job seekers. Okay, so I've answered that now twice. If I see the question again, I will boot you off. Oh, You just did it again. Okay. So I will boot you off. All right. I hate having to do this stuff. Why do people have to be rude? I don't know. But here we go. So in case you're ever curious how to do that, you just right click on somebody's name, open it up in a new tab, go to the block section, and then they're gone. And I was following you too. What a bummer. So now you're done. Okay. Anyone else have a question? Why is it taking, oh, here's a question. Why is it taking 4 more interviews and then weeks before a decision is made for a job? Yeah. You want to know what it really is? I mean, I'll tell you what it really is. It's because they are, in most cases, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but I think that the number one reason why there are so many interviews now is because there are so many candidates applying for these jobs. You're in competition with more people for every job than at any time that I've been doing this, right? I've been hiring people since I was 23 years old. That was my first management spot that I was in that hiring seat, okay? I have never seen so many candidates vying for the same job ever. I remember times where I basically had to do, like, somebody would say, "Can you share my profile, view my profile?" And I was dying to scouring to find potential employees, anybody that could do the job. One applicant for the job that was good, and I would hire them, right? But that's not the case now. It's the complete opposite. Now it's like an avalanche. Every single job listing is just getting crushed with applicants. You could be the world's worst recruiter and make a killing right now because there are so many candidates out there. It's easy to find talent. It really is. And no disrespect to recruiters. The challenge is different now because they got to deal with the volumes. But finding a qualified candidate right now is pretty easy in comparison to when everybody's hired and you've got to basically talk them out of the job they're already in because they're already employed and convince them to come work for you, right? I mean, that's the opposite of what we've got now. Now we've got 40 million unemployed people, and you know, nothing but time on their hands to apply to jobs all day. So the 4 levels of interviews, which is not common in most companies. Now, if you go to a mega company, I'm talking like Amazon, Google, something like that, 4 interviews actually is not uncommon. Also, government roles, 4 interviews, not uncommon. But for most jobs, small to medium businesses, even large, but not mega companies, not like a Fortune 500, but just like a large company, maybe with offices in 50 states or something like that. 4 interviews is not common. At least it wasn't, but it is now. And again, it's because you have more competition. So there is that. I am looking through. There we go. How do you deal with a general manager that is interested in hiring you, but the local sales manager isn't getting back to you? Yeah, that's tough. And I have actually had that. Let me talk about this in a different way. I want you to think about this. If a GM or somebody, because I've had this at a district level and even a VP level. In fact, it's one of the reasons why I think I didn't. Well, anyways, I don't want to go there. But let me tell you from personal experience. Okay, you don't want to work for a manager who was forced to hire you by somebody above them. Your odds of being happy, let's say it that way, in that job are not good if the person directly managing you is going to be, and here's probably what it is. I mean, I'm going to lay it all out there for you. All right. The sales manager might be threatened by you for whatever reason. Maybe they don't get along with the GM and it could be something else, but they probably, if they're not getting back to you and they're a sales manager, look, I'm a competent sales manager. And when I'm hiring a sales team, I want the best team I could possibly find. I'm not worried that they're going to come in and outshine me. But there are a lot of, and I think this is more and more, insecure people out there. They're not secure in their own talent. So they want to find specific people that they can basically lord over that don't have a shot of usurping their position. Here's what I mean. That sales manager, if they're worried about their job, is not going to want to bring in somebody who could potentially replace them. That's probably what's happening there. Now, there could be a lot of other things. I could be way off base. But anyways, the other thing that you might consider too is the sales manager might just be super busy. And that happens sometimes too. Right now, a lot of us are doing more work than we've ever done before because the companies are hiring less people. So they just might be overwhelmed. It may not have anything to do with you. So let's preface it that way. You'll know when you have a conversation with the sales manager, right? But I want you to be careful there. If there's been a delay in them getting back to you, it could be because they see you as a threat and they're going to be hostile to you. If they're hostile to you in the interview process, then don't take that job no matter how wonderful it is, because you're going to be miserable. You're going to hate it and you're going to want to bounce. And then you're going to have one of those. I'd rather have an employment gap than have 3 short-term stays. You know what I mean? So maybe like if you worked at the last job for 10 years, you could take a 6-month to a year stay somewhere and be okay. But if you've had a couple short ones, like I was at California Survey and Drafting Supply for a year and a half or something like that. And then I was at ARC for like 7 months and I got laid off. Well, if you look at my last 2 stops, they're both under 2 years. It's not good. It's really not good. So, my stop before that was 4 years. So that was all right. But, now as a business owner, I don't have to worry about it. But as an employee, trying to find a job now I think most people probably would have understood that I was laid off because of COVID-19. But the fact is, it would have been better for me to have no job for 7 months and go 4 years, 2 years gap than to go 4 years, 2 years, 7 months, which, just is what it is. But anyways, hopefully I answered your question. If not, ask me more down below. Out here on Facebook, going to switch to LinkedIn. Yeah, there's not very many people on Facebook here today, Foster, but Foster's in the Dallas area. He actually just had me on his Frisco Connects show this week. That was fun. I enjoyed that. Why are recruiters ghosting candidates as well as candidates ghosting recruiters? You know what it boils down to? Everybody is, there's 2 things at play here. A, they're busy recruiters now, and I'm not making an excuse for them. If you are talking to a recruiter, I think the recruiter should make time to respond to you. Even if it's not, look, if you watch this show enough, you'll see. Sometimes I'm not always nice to people. Like, I'm not trying to be rude, but the truth is the truth. It hurts sometimes, but it's better to get that than to be misled or to just be ignored. So, first of all, recruiters do a better job. Just do better, right? If you're going to engage with people, then save enough time in your day to respond to the people that you've communicated with and let them know that it didn't work or whatever. You just need to do that. I think so. That's the decent thing to do. But recruiters get ghosted by candidates. There are candidates who get hired. There's a job offer and they don't show up for work. Crazy, but it happens. Ghosting happens on all sides. And here's what it really boils down to. If you want to know the honest truth, it's because people are too self-absorbed. They're only interested in themselves. That's the main problem. Ghosting happens because people are self-absorbed. This is my buddy. You got to go to Foster Williams on LinkedIn and connect with him. He's worth a connect. All right. So questions. I'm looking for questions. Here we go. This looks like something. I'm preparing for a final stage interview with chief of people. Okay. That's an HR position. Rubber stamping exercise, I've been told. Yeah, sometimes. I've already gone through the technical rounds. Do you have suggestions for what I might expect and good questions to ask? Yeah. this is a great question, Camelia. I'm gonna pull up one of my blogs here. I have a blog that I wrote, and I want you to read it. It's an interview. It's an interview for the blog. Here we go, right here. So, let me get this out of the way. I want you to go and read this Win the Interview blog, okay? If you click on it, I've got questions in here that I want you to read. So there's questions in here to read, an interview prep checklist of things that you need to do. But in this, I don't believe in rubber stamp interviews, right? So the technical ones are done. So you might not have to do all of this, but there are some that you might really want to know, like how they are positioned in the financial market, their annual review trend for the industry. Like, how is the industry doing? How are they doing in the industry? So, like, if the industry numbers are up, but they're flat, that's a warning sign. Or if the industry is flat or down, but they're flat or up, that actually could be good. But know how they're doing, right? That's one thing. If you haven't talked about salary, then this is the time that you definitely want to do your research on salary. Go to like Glassdoor, you can look on LinkedIn, you can do informational interviews, but really have an idea of where the salary needs to be. Because if they offer you a lowball offer, then you need to know that this is a negotiation and that was just the opening offer, right? The other thing that people don't do, which I really wish they would, is they don't ask about raises and promotions. So I want you to definitely ask that question. Look, how do you handle, what's your company policy on raises and uh, promotions? Because if you get an offer and it's right where you thought it should be, however, it's not enough for you to live on for the next 24 months to 36 months, so 2 to 3 years. If it's not enough, they may not give you a raise for 2 to 3 years, and you've got to absorb, be able to absorb all the cost of living increases that you're going to experience. Your cell phone bill is going to go up. Your cable bill is going to go up. The price of gas and milk and all the groceries are going to go up, right? So you have to make enough that you can not only afford to live today, but you can afford to live next year and the year after that, and maybe even the year after that without a raise. Unless he says or she says, whoever says, oh, yeah, we give annual performance reviews and increases every year. Okay, great. Well, now you know you need to live on it for a year. So ask that question so that you can be prepared. And then the other thing that you really want to make sure is this company culture. At that point, you've passed all the technical stuff. Now it's just about how are you going to fit in with their culture. I'm going to give you an example. I live in California. There are two types of companies in California. There's the pro pot and the anti pot, and everything that goes with it. I'm telling you, that's the way it is. So if you're a button up person like I am, and you go into a place that's got, 420 stuff everywhere, you might not fit in there. And so as much as you like the company, as much as you want the job, you might not want to accept it if you know that the company culture is counter to whatever you're comfortable with. And again, I'm not trying to make any judgments. And that analogy is just because it's so easy for most people to picture. But it could be anything. You know what I mean? It could be a place where there are, I hate to say this, tyrants out there. There are people that micromanage, and a lot of times they do it with anger and fear. That's how they manage. It's one of the things I like to ask people, what's their management style? Although in this case, because you're talking to somebody upper, CHO, right? Whatever. They, when you're talking to somebody who's not going to directly manage you, their management style isn't necessarily relevant, right? Because you're not going to answer directly to them. You're going to answer to somebody else, right? So hopefully you've already addressed that. But one thing that I like to do, a strategy on this, is go to social media. and start checking them and their company and what people say about them. Go to Google and read the reviews on Google Maps, right? Go to any of those places and look into that. Be prepared with questions like that. Give them an opportunity to address it, because not everything you read on the internet is fair or true or accurate, right? But now's your chance to address those. And when you ask those types of questions, right, you're giving them the opportunity to see that you're serious. And you're also giving them the opportunity to, have a discourse with you about it. So, anyways, company culture is something I ignored as a job seeker until I got, I don't know, probably like 10 years ago. So in my 30s, I didn't really didn't care. In my 20s, even in early 30s, I just wanted the job. Right? But when you find yourself working for a toxic culture company, and I worked for one that was, I can't imagine a company being more toxic, frankly. And it was easy to see how it all happened. It was a systems process, the way they acquired companies, then the way they allowed their managers to manage kind of however they wanted, laissez faire, if you will. You do what works for you locally kind of thing. It doesn't work, especially when you're absorbing rivals. So, anyways, if you want to avoid the toxicity, if you want to avoid I don't know what even the right way to say it. Like, if you want to be happy, if you want to have a good work quality of life, these are the questions that I would go in with. Hopefully that helps. If you have any follow-up questions, go ahead and drop them in below. Look, I'm getting a lot of this kind of stuff, guys. And where I understand what you might be doing, I can't really answer that. I can tell you that I have jobs on Project Help You Grow. I mean, it's just one place that you can find job listings. But job listings aren't hard to find, honestly. You can Google that. Just put, I don't even know how to say that, pharmacovigilance. I'm not familiar with that term. Medical writing. Put medical writing job in whatever city you want to work in Google, and it'll populate some jobs for you. I mean, it's really that interested or that easy. How to answer the question, why did you leave your previous engagement? I would answer just straight up. If there was a toxic work culture, maybe it depends. But I would be honest about it. But I would also be brief. You don't want to run your former employer in the ground. You don't want to come off as malcontent. So be polite, be professional, be brief, but be honest. Hopefully that helps, right? Candidate had their offer pulled from a new employer because they trashed a former employer on social media. Yeah, you've got to be very careful with this. This is actually what I was just talking about. You don't want to be, you don't want to come off as the bad guy, the bully. Like I said, they're worried about their culture. One of the reasons why you're getting 4 interviews right now is because this hire is so important. It's expensive. It's really expensive to onboard employees. It takes about a year to really get people on in most cases. It's expensive. So what they don't want is they don't want somebody who's going to come in and bounce. They don't want somebody who's going to come in and disturb the apple cart. If you're talking trash about your former employer, the odds are you're going to talk trash about them when you leave them too. So just don't do it. Be polite. Always be polite. Be professional. Be brief whenever you're talking about your former employee or employer to a potential employer. And I wish I could get this through everybody's head. Your comments everywhere are public domain. They're searchable. So just if you have the need to write something that could be seen as insinuatory, right? Here's what I want you to do. Get a piece of paper, write it. It'll feel better because you wrote it out. And then I want you to either burn it or rip it up and throw it away. Don't put it on social media anywhere, ever. not even as a private message. Because, even private messages can be screenshot and then shared. And that's dirty pool, if you will, but it happens. I see it. So don't do it. Okay. Yeah. Um, Here's the thing. If you don't have questions, you have not done your interview prep correctly. Period. You need to ask questions. I've already addressed a couple that you should be asking. For example, how do you handle promotions and raises? Every single time you need to ask that question. The second question you always need to ask, it's about follow up. When can I expect to hear from you? How would you like to hear from me? What's your communication preference and the length of time? Because you might be the first person they're interviewing and they might have interviews stacked up for the next 2 weeks. And they might say, well, look, I'm not going to be able to tell you a decision on the next round of interviews until I'm done with the first round. So, okay, so it's going to be 2 weeks. Now you're going to set your calendar for 2 weeks to follow up with them. And you're going to follow up the way that they said via email. Now, look, here's why it's important. If they say email and you don't have their email address, say, great, can I get your email address? You don't have to leave that interview without the way to contact them. They say phone number, great, let me get your direct dial. Now you have access to them. You don't have to go through a gatekeeper because it's too easy to get pushed to the side if you weren't the one. And all you want to know is, am I still in the running or not? If you're not in the running, you can move on. I get it. And you deserve that. If you interview, you deserve to hear one way or the other. You're in the running or you're not. You may not like the answer, but you deserve that answer. And so those are a couple questions you should always be asking. And then I have a plethora of questions that I suggest. In fact, I have a list of them for you right here. Other great questions to ask include what brought you, the interviewer, to the company? So you want to know why they're working there. Based on your resume and the conversation so far, what do you think? What do you think I would do best at in the position? Gives you an idea of what they think your strength is. What is the single biggest challenge facing the department right now? So you're asking about what are they going through? What style of management do you use? Are you a micromanager? Are you hands off? Are they a servant leader? Let them explain their management style. You want to watch somebody squirm in their seat, ask them that question. When did you, the interviewer, start with the company? How long have they been there? They might have only been there a couple months themselves. How does the company handle promotions and raises? We've talked about. Can you tell me about the benefits and vacation policies? Another great question. Most people don't even ever ask in the interview process. Then when they get hired, they're disappointed they don't get any vacation. Or like the company I just worked for gave me 5 days. Look at me now. 5 days. It wasn't vacation time. It was personal time off. Meaning, if I got sick, there's one of my 5 days. That's awful in the United States. I mean, I know other parts of the world that might not be awful, but here that's awful. You're talking about somebody with 20 years of experience now. That was not right. I was very unhappy about that. But again, I didn't ask that question, so it was my fault. What are 3 things I could do after starting to help make your job easier? I like that because it gives you something to work on right away. Anything I can do to prepare myself for the first day? I like that question because I think it is it's a gauge of where you are, and usually the answer really isn't in what they say, but it's in their body language. So I want you to watch what they do with their body when they're answering you as you ask that question. Give you a good insight into how close you are to really having a shot at landing that job. So hopefully that helps you there. Okay. Yeah, Michael, let me address this for you. Even though you didn't ask it in the form of a question, I got to take a sip of water real quick. I've written an article on LinkedIn and I put it on Project Help It Grow too. But age bias or age discrimination is a real thing. And there's a couple ways to get around it to help you, at least to get that interview. You're going to have to wow them when you get the interview. But the number one thing that you can do, and you likely should do, and you probably aren't doing it, most people I talk to aren't, When you go to search for your jobs, most of you, what you're doing is you're just going for full-time, 40-hour week benefit normal jobs, right? And I get it. That's what we all want. But for the more experienced, which is the politically correct way to say older, candidate out there, if you're in your 50s or 60s, even late 40s, 45 on, the bias is real. Why the bias exists will help you understand how to get around it. Okay. The bias exists because of medical costs. That's the bottom line. I don't care what anybody else says. If they don't say it's because of the healthcare costs to the company, then they're not being honest with you. That's the number one reason. The second reason is because it's expensive to onboard people and they don't know how long you're going to be working. So that's the other reason. That's one of the reasons why they ask, what do you see yourself doing in 5 years? You know what the answer to that question is every single time? I'm going to be working for you, hopefully promoted a level or two up and helping to build this company. That's the right answer. That's what they want to hear. Because what they want to hear is that you're not here for, until you find something better. Or you're not here, because you got 3 more years to finish off your Social Security, right? I mean, that's what they want to hear. So hopefully that's true, but that's the answer you should say. 5-year goal is to be, promoted one or two steps in helping you build this business. If you do that, then that'll be good. Okay. But here's some strategy I want to help you with. Okay. As a job seeker with a longer work history because you're older, I want you to strip out anything in your resume that has a date on it that's 10 years or older. So if you've been working for 20, 30, 40 years, you don't need to have every job on the resume. Have 10 years worth. If you need some of the other titles and experience to help show that you're qualified for the job, then what I want you to do is put other work experience or older work experience. Title it like that. It's a second section. And I want you to strip out the dates. I want you to have the company name, the title, and the location. Those three things only. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, send me a DM, Michael, and I will send you an example of mine because mine is set up that way, right? Because I've been working for more than 10 years too. So by doing that, what you're doing is you're taking away, and also on your education, take the years off. If you were in college in 1977 or 1987, strip those dates off because you're giving them the ability to see that you're old. You know what I mean? Like you take that away from them. You don't have to have the years in there. So take that away. When you get to the interview round, they're still going to see that you're older, but now you're in the interview and you have a chance to sell them. So that's one way to go after full-time jobs. Okay. But now here's something I'm going to tell you that's, I think, a better strategy and a faster strategy to landing a job where your experience actually will help you. Okay. And I talk about this on every one of these shows so far. Job seekers with more experience are frowned upon for full-time salary positions with benefits, but where they are not frowned upon, in fact, they are the preference, are for full-time contract roles or fractional work. So temporary, either full-time or part-time contract positions, right? So it could be a 20-hour a week thing. It could be, just a contract job. But anyways, there's no benefits now. So if you're doing temp work, contract work, fractional work, no benefits. Now your experience is an asset, not a liability, because you really know this industry. You know how to do this job better than the people, that are beating you out for the full-time jobs because they're not going to raise the cost of benefits for the company. And that's basically what it boils down to. So what I want you to do when you go to do that job search, you don't have to eliminate the full-time positions. Just make sure that you're also looking at the contract work and the fixed term work. You know what I mean? The part-time work, all those other categories, highlight them all. and see what's out there and apply for those jobs. Don't just dismiss them. Those are the ones that you're going to have a better chance of landing. And I'm going to be straightforward with you. I know personally, the companies I worked for, we would bring in contract, fixed term contract employees on a trial basis and hire a lot of them as long as they did a good job. And at that point, we didn't care about the increase in our healthcare package because we knew we were getting somebody that was good. Like they want to see that you work hard, they want to see that you're professional, the technology isn't above your head. I mean, all that stuff. It sounds crazy, but that's all the biases that they come because they think you're going to be slower. They think you're going to be technically challenged. They think you might not fit into the culture. All those things you can address that. The fixed term contracts basically turn into um, interviews. They're just long term interviews. It's a prove it deal. Anyways, hopefully that helps, Michael. It's a question I do get a lot. What does pre-screening questions mean? Yeah, pre-screening questions are another way that we call that, or a way that it's described, are knockout questions. Could be something like, do you have a degree? If a degree is required for the job, let's say it's a master's degree or a bachelor's, it doesn't matter, any type of degree. If you have to have a degree for the job and you don't have one, you're out. That's a pre-screening question. Okay, hopefully that helps. Can you please tell the difference between managerial interview and HR interview? What should we prepare for both interviews? Yeah. So, manager interview is the person that's going to be managing you, or a departmental manager, because you might actually work for a supervisor or something. But a managerial interview is somebody that's in that department that's going to be managing you somehow, whether directly or indirectly. Okay. An HR interview, on the other hand, is, unless you're working in HR. In that case, it's both. But HR interview is usually for things like culture fit or human resources, is what HR stands for, right? So it's all about policy with them, company policy, and those things. So preparing for them, if I'm going to an HR interview, I'm not going to do a ton of interview prep as far as looking at the, well, I don't know. Let's see. The best thing to do for an HR interview is to know the company, to know the culture, to know the industry itself, right? Where does the company fit? Because you typically don't have to impress them. You really can only unimpress them, right? But I'm going to ask about the company. I'm going to ask about the pay raise. I'm going to ask about vacation policy. I'm going to ask all those types of questions. Dress code, health insurance, right? Those are the types of questions that you would ask. But for the hiring manager, you're going to ask like, hey, what type of managerial style do you have? Hey, what three things could I do to help you out right away? Those types of questions, right? Hopefully that helps. Good question. I haven't heard that one before. Should you tell interviewers not to contact your current employer if you don't want a current employer? Yes, absolutely. You absolutely should do that. Because if you have a job now and you're trying to find a better job, you don't want to lose your job, especially if you can't find a new one. So I wrote an article called Searching Incognito. It's a little bit older on my website, but you should go check that out. projecthelpyougrow.com. Go to the blog. You're going to have to go to older. So like you're going to have to scroll down through the 10 and then hit older. It'll be there. It's that little, in fact, I'll find it for you and I'll put it in the, I'll put the link in the comments for you. But it's called Searching for a Job Incognito. I'm looking for it right now. There it is. So it's right here. Search for a job under the radar. I'm going to put this, I'm going to take this and put it in the comments for you so that you can just grab it. Okay. There you go. It's in there for you. Okay. Let's see. Sometime I shiver while giving interview. Please give us some tips to improve our confidence. Yeah, that's a tough one. That is a tough one. And you're not alone. So interviewing, interviewing is it's an important thing, right? And we all want to do a good job. So one thing I will say is it's good to practice. Now read the article that I wrote when the interview, because in that I'm going to look. I'm going to tell you guys something that I believe 100%. If you will read my article when the interview and do the work, and it's a lot of work now, but if you do the work before each interview, you won't go in uh, with a confidence issue. You're going to be prepared, and you're going to do just fine. So read my article. That's the thing that I can tell you, because you're going to do research, you're going to do some practice, you're going to have questions ready to go, you're going to understand so much about that company because of the research that I'm going to teach you how to do there. That article has a lot of value. Like I could charge hundreds of dollars to interview prep people with that article. I give it to you for free. I've given everything on Project Help You Grow for free. You guys really should be spending more time there if you're serious about finding a job, because I'm serious about helping you find a job. I don't write fluff pieces. I don't do stuff to be popular. Like I said, if I was trying to just to be popular, I would do things a little differently and I would have millions of followers. I know how to get the followers. I just don't want to sell myself out. So help yourselves by going to somebody who's done the serious work and read the work and then follow the advice. So there it is for you. Do you think growing trend of hiring people on the FTC rather than the perm is a consequence of COVID? Yeah, I think so. I think it's the wave of the future. I think because, first of all, there are advantages for fractional and fixed term contract. There are advantages to that for both parties. The biggest advantage for the employer is, you know, they don't have to absorb the healthcare costs anymore. So their overhead is greatly reduced, and healthcare costs has gone through the roof. Now that's a consequence to our voting policies, right? We keep voting for things that make it more expensive for employers to do business, whether we're paying attention to that or not, right? Companies don't get into business to hire people and give them health care. That's not why I opened Bowman Digital Media, right? So these other alternative forms of employment, whether they're 1099 contractors like I am, you can't see it right now because the question's in the way, but they're exit your way, which is right here. I work for them, in full disclosure, on a fixed term contract. It's a contract that I've signed, right? So they're a customer of Bowman Digital Media, and the reason why that's the way we set it up, well, there's a couple reasons, but mainly they don't have to pay for any benefits. Like if I get sick, you know what I mean? There's none of that. They don't have to pay for my health insurance. They don't have to have, liability, nothing for me. I mean, it's a straightforward deal. Now, the advantage to me is the employee, if you will, even though I'm not really employee, I'm their vendor, is really how it is. I can have as many of those as I want that I can handle, so I can make more money. So that's kind of the advantages. There's disadvantages too, obviously, right? So there's pluses and minuses. But to your question, do I think it's because of COVID? I think I don't know that it's because of COVID. I'll say that I think that people are more open to it now than before because of COVID. So that could be a result. And because people are willing to accept it, then more companies are offering it. I think that's probably more accurate, but I don't think it's going away. In fact, I think it's actually just starting to ramp up, and it's going to be the new norm. So I'm an early adopter, but I certainly don't think it's going to stop when COVID is over. I think it's going to keep going. Hey, my pleasure, Lorena. And actually, Lorena was on my Follow Me Live yesterday, and I made a post for her and shared her profile. She created a profile yesterday, and I shared it on my main profile. So she had access to 188,000 people, which is super cool. I enjoy doing it. I hope that you are getting some attention from it, Lorena, and best of luck, of course, on the job search. Yeah, there you go. These are the questions they're going to be asking you in the HR question. That's what you can expect, and that's what you want to prepare for with the HR interviews. Yeah, my pleasure, Michael. I'm happy to send it to you. In fact, if any of you want I have a template version of my resume. I can send it to you. Right? I don't advertise it, but if you want it, send me a DM, and I will be happy to do it. No problem. I don't know who you are because it says LinkedIn user. So if you could tell me who you are, that would be awesome. I don't. I don't know what that is in reference to, but I'm doing my best, LJ. I appreciate you actually shared the post yesterday for Lorena. I appreciate that. There are people, look, Anish, there are people hiring. I know Switzerland's another one. There are people hiring, outside folks. Canada does, the United States does. Look, it's not that you can't find a job in a foreign country. It's just that, correct me if I'm wrong, you're looking for a lower level job. You and I have known each other for a while. So you're looking for a lower, like almost an entry level job. The challenge that you have is really one of economy. Okay. I made an analogy a long time ago. I'm going to revise it for you right now, just so that you can get this in your head. I need you to understand this. If you wanted to get a loaf of bread, not for anything special, just a regular, like I want to make a sandwich, and you could go to the store in your neighborhood to get that loaf of bread, or you could go on an airplane and fly to a foreign country, get out of the airplane and go to a store there, get that loaf of bread, and then get back on an airplane and fly back home and make your sandwich. Which would you do? Similar bread, similar rate of pay. You wouldn't, in your right mind, get on the airplane to go buy that loaf of bread. Now, maybe if there was no bread in your country and it was a special bread that you couldn't make this particular sandwich out of without this type of bread. It's like some special rye something, right? Pumpernickel rye, something creative, right? Here's the deal. When you're an entry level job, right? Entry level, or maybe 3 to 5 years of experience, and you're in an area where you could throw a stone in any direction and hit somebody that meets those qualifications. Employers are not going to spend tens of thousands of dollars to bring somebody in from outside the country to do that job when there's so much readily available labor right there. There's no culture issue. There's no extra expense. If they don't work out locally, they'll just go grab somebody else. They have to invest a lot of money to sponsor and bring in somebody from out of country. It costs them money. There's a higher risk that they won't fit or won't work because of the cultural differences. So to answer your question, when you're doing entry level work or when you're doing, I hate to say low level work, that sounds rude, but you're not high up. You don't have 15 years experience, those kinds of things, right? It's hard to find a company that will sponsor you. Now, Anish, I've told you already today, you might not have heard it. So let me tell you again. If you want to work for a company in Poland or Hungary or Switzerland or Canada or wherever, one thing that you could do and you should do, Anish, you should listen to me here. Find a company that has an office in that place that you want to live or work. Start with them where you are. Build your experience and build your relationship with that employer at the same time. It might take you 3 or 4 years given your circumstances, but at the end of the rope, you can get transferred. That's a much more viable path for you. And I worry for you because I know you're desperate. I'm worried that you're going to get scammed by somebody. This would eliminate that too. Okay. So please listen to me. I know you are desperate. I know you desire it very much. I understand. But I don't want you to get taken for a ride. Okay. Where's the best place to look for contract and fractional jobs? Well, there's this place called Project Help You Grow. I'm totally kidding. You know what I do? Honestly, just Google it. Google it. You guys don't use Google enough. You can go to Indeed, you can go to Glassdoor, you can go to ZipRecruiter. You honestly you can go to Google Careers, you can go to Project Help You Grow, you can go anywhere you want. The reason why I like Project Help You Grow for job seekers is you don't have to have an account and you get access to all the ZipRecruiter jobs anyways without getting put on third-party lists. Did you know that I think all of them except for Project Help You Grow, I don't know of any that don't sell your data to third parties? I'm the only one because I'm not doing this for money. This is a philanthropy. So I recommend Project Help You Grow or Google. Excellent. I'm very happy to see that. I'm very happy to see that you get that because I don't want you to get hurt. I've known you. I think you and I have known each other for 2 years, right? So I'm familiar with your story. I know what you're trying to do, and I want to help you. So that's good. So if you can find that company that has an office in both places and get started locally, you can do that right away. You can build up your resume and you can build up that relationship at the same time. They are much more likely to sponsor you. And actually, we didn't talk about this today. They're much more likely to help pay for your travel as well, because it's going to cost you money to move there, obviously, right? So sponsorship is a big part of it. Of course, you can't go there without it, but also it's going to take money that you might not have that they might be willing to, assist with. My network is bad. I'm watching from YouTube. LinkedIn is not responding. Thanks. Oh, okay. Well, sorry. Thanks. Thank you for watching on YouTube. It's one of the reasons why I share this. I just for everybody. I mean, most of you know me from LinkedIn, but if you're on YouTube, go ahead and hit my subscribe to my channel, and then you'll get notifications when I go live, which is kind of cool. But I broadcast, simulcast is the technical term, from YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And this show, there's two shows or 2 episodes a week. It's not the same. It's not like a replay, right? You ask me questions today. You ask me questions on Monday. They could be different questions. Okay. I just noticed that I am way over. This is supposed to be an hour show, and it's an hour and 22 minutes in. So I'm going to be like Penny, and I'm going to say goodbye. But thank you guys very much. We did very good. We held a good audience the whole time. You had great questions. I only had to kick one person off who kept wanting to ask the same question 15,000 times for some reason, even though that wasn't even related to the job search at all. This show is about job seekers answering your questions. It's not about making me look good. It's not a promotion even for Project Help You Grow. That's just one resource. You can use any resource you want. Never use Project Help You Grow. That's fine. That's up to you. You can still ask me questions. I'll still answer them. It's still free help. Again, if you want a copy of my template resume, I only have the one, and it's mine. But you can use it as a template. It is ATS compliant. You can see how I address having more than 10 years of work experience too, right? With that previous work history, I think is how I set it up. Okay. So anyways, thank you so much for joining. I will be back again on Monday at noon Pacific. So wherever you are, you have to adjust. Like in the East Coast, that's 3 o'clock. In the UK, it is 8 o'clock p.m. In India, unfortunately, it's 12:30 in the morning. So it's a little late for you guys there. But you can watch this back later, which is another reason why I do the broadcast live. They convert to recordings. So you can, like, if you're in India and you don't want to stay up till 12:30, and I don't think I would either. I mean, you can come on Saturdays. But if you come on later, Tuesday in the day, right? When you're up, you can watch the show and still get all the answers. You just won't be able to ask the questions. But if you come on Saturdays, obviously, then you can ask questions live. Okay. So, oh, I was just making sure I didn't have any last minute questions. Anyways, again, that's it. So my name is Ira Bowman. You've been watching Ask Ira, Job Seekers Q&A. Thank you for joining, and I hope you guys have a great afternoon.